all the money work you're doing until you have this step. So, my name is Anna Marbach. I'm the teacher of Set Point, and what you need to do is actually have a clear money goal and desire. And this is actually something I see a lot of my clients do because just doing vague money work, I mean, that's awesome. And I love money, and we're always welcoming money in. Money flows so easily to us. We get to be rich, wealthy, we get to have so much money. But this is the thing I always say, because like I have clients who say, I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy. And actually, I would say by the standards of the world, first of all, they're already rich and wealthy. I mean, here's the thing. Like, really, in so many ways, we are so rich and we are so wealthy. And we just get to feel richer and wealthier. I mean, right now in this moment, I'm just looking at myself on the screen and I'm like, well, I'm so rich and wealthy because I have this beautiful edition of Persuasion by Jane Austen. I have all of these beautiful books. Here's my cell phone. I mean, this piece of technology, how much did that cost? This is, I mean, compared to I grew up in the 90s. I'm a millennial. So compared to when I was growing up, I mean, we had one of those Windows 96 computers, those like big, bulky, gray plastic, kind of low pixels. Even then, that was amazing. And I felt so rich and wealthy, and I spent hours playing video games on that. So really, it's like we are so rich and we are so wealthy, and there's so much richness available. I'm doing this recording on a MacBook Air. I'm so rich and wealthy. So to me, rich and wealthy is not really a goal. It's more of a feeling. And we can feel richer and wealthier. And yes, having money and having, maybe certain experiences or luxury goods, like that might be a part of your experience of richness and wealthiness. But really, I think rich and wealthy are feeling, we get to feel richer and we get to feel wealthier and we get to feel more abundant. And really, feelings are infinite. Feelings, we can always feel more of a feeling. And I also believe, because feelings are in the body, that I believe feelings are more and more available. I'll be talking about that in a different set point video. But the thing is, feelings are always more and more available. Like, for example, I went to Antarctica. And when I went to Antarctica, that was part of my seven continents before 30. And going to Antarctica, seven continents before 30, I really wasn't a nature person, honestly. Like I had spent time, um, really the fall before that. I went to Antarctica in January. I believe it was January of 2022 that I went to Antarctica. And I had been spending or was it 2021? See, now I don't remember, but I had been spending the entire fall before that in England, in Glastonbury. And I had really like, in Glastonbury, there's a really beautiful abbey, there are these beautiful gardens, like it's an abbey in ruins, so it's really more like land and gardens. So I've been really spending time outside, but at the same time, I didn't really think of myself as a nature person. And then when I went to Antarctica, I was like, wow, like this is so amazing. This is so incredible. And it really connected me to that part of me that loves nature and that actually does really adore and enjoy nature. And now, now I live right next to this really beautiful valley, like it's a small valley, but this really beautiful small valley that goes into a historical river in Detroit where I live right now. And I also live really near this beautiful park, and I actually live in Metro Detroit, and I live really near this beautiful park, and I walk there, and it's so beautiful. And I had this realization like maybe a year or so ago, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm enjoying this park. Like the awe of nature that I'm feeling feels the same as the awe I felt in Antarctica, because Antarctica, it's these just unbelievable ice mountains and, ice and snow everywhere. And it's so quiet and it's so peaceful. And same with actually, that's how I felt at the park. I was like, oh my God, I'm just in such awe of nature. So this is to say, like, obviously Antarctica takes more time and money to access than the park that's 2 minutes away from my house. But that feeling of awe is always available. And that's how I feel about the feeling of rich and wealthy too. The feeling of rich and wealthy is always available to us. we can feel rich and wealthy just looking at a tree and admiring the number of leaves. We can feel rich and wealthy when we realize that, according to US copyright law, every book before, I mean, I don't know what year it is now exactly, but like, let's say, I think it's about probably 1930 at this point, every book published before the year 1930 is available for free. So these are some of the greatest books ever written. You can access immediately on your phone. Just over 100 years ago, like people could barely access books. Or, yes, there were libraries, but like sometimes, or there were subscription libraries and you had to pay a fee. We can get books for free now on our phones. That's incredible. We're so rich and wealthy. You're watching this for free on YouTube. We're so rich and wealthy. So we can always feel richer and we can always feel wealthier and we can always appreciate the richness and wealthiness that we have available. Actually, speaking of that as well, I was in Denmark and there is this river between, or river, it's probably bigger than a river, but there's water in between Denmark and Sweden, but they're actually very close to each other. And I was actually at the castle where that, supposedly the prince who lived there, it's like the castle that Hamlet is based on, the Prince of Denmark. And they're talking about how when, Denmark used to control, with this castle, they controlled this river or whatever, this strait of water, and they would tax the ships based on their cargo. And peppercorns, peppercorns were so valuable that, for tax purposes, they would count each peppercorn individually. And think of it this way. I mean, how often have you just like, you can get a pack of pepper at McDonald's. You just put pepper on your food anytime. You probably have peppercorns, if you have one of those little grinders, you probably have peppercorns in your cabinet. You can buy peppercorns, again, they were so valuable that they were counted individually. And now we're like, yeah, peppercorns are so, you can go buy peppercorns at your local grocery store at Kroger. So we're so rich and wealthy. Like we eat like kings. Like, 500 years ago, like pretty much only royalty or aristocracy, as far as I could understand, used spices or used, in Europe, used spices, used peppercorns. And now we have huge racks of spices in our kitchens. We're so rich and wealthy. So again, I think rich and wealthy are feelings, saying I want to be rich and wealthy. That's really putting the feeling of rich and wealthy outside your body. And that's always going to be inauthentic, in my opinion. So allowing that feeling of richness and wealthiness back into your body, allowing your goal to not be distant. And again, let's focus instead on a specific money goal because that is so much easier too. I mean, set point is all about upgrading the subconscious mind. And I think of the subconscious mind in so many ways, but one metaphor that I think does work is the subconscious mind is like a dog, or really maybe the subconscious mind is like a computer program. And the subconscious mind, in my opinion, is very lazy. Like it will give you what you want, but I think the subconscious mind will give you, I mean, this is my opinion, will give you kind of the minimum of what you want. So again, you ask the subconscious mind to make you rich and wealthy, and the subconscious mind is like, you already have all these spices in your cabinet. You're already eating like a king, a queen, a sovereign. You're already rich and wealthy. My work is done. I don't have anything to do. Whereas when you do a specific money goal and you really make it something you don't have already, the subconscious mind is like, oh, okay, I actually really do see how there's distance between where I am and where we're going. And then the subconscious mind works to bridge that gap. So here's an example of a specific money goal that you can do when you're doing, any kind of money manifestation practice, and especially the set point practices. And I say the word manifestation, we'll have to get into manifestation, but this is actually really more about changing your beliefs around money. Manifestation, I feel like that is a really wide and maybe vague term, whereas really what we're doing here is changing our subconscious experience of money so that we can have a better life consciously. So when we're doing our set point practices, we want specific money goals. And I like to say there are a few ways to make this specific. First of all, specific amount. So there are actually three factors. So the first factor is the specific amount. 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever it is. The second factor is in a specific way. So in extra income, I really like to use the word extra, in extra income, or just, in income, in my checking account, in my savings account, in my investment account. Where exactly do you want that money to go? Where do you want that money to come from? And that's not to get super specific in the how. Like, you don't have to be like, through my job, because maybe you'll get a new job, a better job. Maybe you'll get a promotion. So in a way, it'll be a different job. Maybe you'll move to your company's satellite company overseas and have a really great adventure. So I want you to be open to the possibility of the how, but if you want it like through a job or through your business, that's good to know. If you want it through, just in your checking account, that's good to know too. And that might look like you making more money, but sometimes it looks like more money just arriving. Sometimes it honestly looks like you spending less if you're spending on things that aren't aligned. Or, it also might look like, you know, maybe you've been overspending in ways you didn't even know, in ways that are not at all enhancing your life, and then you'll find that out. So there are lots of different ways that the money can manifest, and really allowing that in, allowing in different hows. And I did use the word manifest, but I mean like manifest into physical reality, like actually come into your life. But we want to really know where it is going to be. Again, income, savings, checking, investment. And then the last element is within a certain period of time. So I do want you to say within the next month, within the next 3 months, within the next 6 months, within the next year. That I like the time limit. I think again, with the subconscious mind likes to be lazy, and the subconscious mind, I think too, likes really clear boundaries, really clear experiences. So it's like, let's make it so clear. So a great example would be like, let's say you've never held money in your checking account, like your checking account is always like hovering around zero, then a great goal could be, I have $1,000 in my checking account by the end of 2 months. That would be a great goal. And I want you to feel that in the body, by the way. Like, we're talking about in the mind, and it's so easy to be in the mind, but let's like come down into the body. And can you feel how that feels clear, as opposed to, I want to be richer, I want to be wealthier? Honestly, like for me, again, I want to be richer, I want to be wealthier. That doesn't feel good. It feels so vague. It feels so open-ended. It actually makes me feel like really pressured. Like, oh man, does that mean I have to be like a millionaire instantly? Ah, I don't know how to do that. That's too much. It just kind of sends us into overdrive and overwhelm. It's not fun, you know? And I have to say though, this is part of this too. It's not like about forcing your goals to be quote unquote realistic, but here's the thing though. If you're someone who has often been like, well, I mean, and I deeply, deeply approve too of all money desires and goals. But if you're someone who's been like, well, I would love to be a millionaire, or what I really want is to be a millionaire, what I really want is to make $10 million like Jim Carrey did on his first movie. I believe that's his, I don't know if it was his first movie actually, but he wrote himself a check for $10 million, and he actually got that payday, I believe, on Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. And it's like, yes, of course, that's all possible. But also, if you've been wanting to be a millionaire for years, if, you've been wanting to be richer and wealthier for years, then I would invite you to try it my way. Try some smaller goals first, because again, that's easier for the mind to digest. And it's easier for the subconscious mind too to work on. Because if you're going from hovering around zero in your checking account to millionaire, I mean, that just, you know, I do think it's possible for the subconscious mind to bridge that gap quickly, but it still might feel too overwhelming, or still might feel too intense, in which case you're probably not going to get clarity or take action on that. And again, too, I wonder, I mean, even with the millionaire goal, it's like, well, what does that mean? And like again, where stay like using my formula again, right? I want $1 million in my which one? Income, savings, checking, investments by what time? So you probably haven't even been using the set point formula on, creating your money goals. And again, that does create overwhelm and overdrive for the mind and for the subconscious mind. And just confuses the subconscious mind. So really bringing clarity. But again, I would really invite you to actually try a smaller goal And you absolutely can have bigger goals in the future, but feel like what it's like. Again, I just feel so much more clarity in my body. I feel so much more ease when I'm like, okay, feel what it's like to just do a smaller goal from wherever you're starting from. Or, you might be someone like I had a client who, I think she had like a $12,000 month and a $15,000 month, but not consistently, and then she during our time together had her first 18 in set point had her first $18,000 month and then a $20,000 month. So that's a great example of like she was already making money in her business, already making five figures per month, and then she leaped, and that's like a 50% increase, or it's like a 25% increase, 33% increase. I'm doing the math on the fly here. My point is like, she created that increase. And so it wasn't about going instantly to 30,000 months or 50,000 months, but again, like from where you are, what would be a stretch goal or what's a goal you really, really want? But not necessarily going for your top goal instantly. I mean, in theory, as I'm saying this out loud, like maybe you could do that with the set point practices. Maybe you could just, even if you're hovering at zero in the bank account, or even if you're hovering at 5,000 or 10,000 in your checking account, maybe you could just go for 1 million. It would probably take a little longer, but honestly, if you do and I'm willing for it to be quick too, but if you do the set point practices consistently, and if you're willing to engage in the material and work consistently, and you're willing to do that over time, and you're willing for it to be fast, and you're willing to take action, we're going to talk about all this and like, watch my other videos, join Set Point. The link for that is down below. You're going to learn how to do all of this, but you can eventually become a millionaire, and I absolutely believe that. Sometimes it takes time. Also, I don't think it has to take time though. So I don't want you to have that limiting belief. But I also don't want you to feel like, oh, like I'm not a millionaire already. That means I'm a failure. I mean, no, maybe you just haven't found your formula yet. And I think we all have our own unique and individual formulas. Anyway, so yeah, if the goal of holding the goal of I want to be richer, I want to be wealthier, I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy, if that hasn't been working for you, try the set point formula instead. The set point formula again is, and actually do want to state it too. Like, here's another thing about the set point formula is you want to state in present tense. I have, and again, we're looking for a stretch goal, but not necessarily your biggest goal. Although again, I think maybe that could be fun to try if that's something you really want to do. But again, that takes a lot of commitment and a lot of focus and a lot of belief and not giving up, even if does not appear to be working. So again, though, the set point goal formula is so it's like I already have it. I have specific dollar amount, $10,000, specific way, in income, specific time frame by the end of the month. Every month for 6 months. I have my first $10,000 month in income by the end of the year. And that's it. That's a set point formula. Again, getting so specific. And just doing this, just getting actually really specific and really nailing down your specific money goal is going to create so many more results. Like it's going to make so many things clearer. Again, it gives your subconscious something really clear to work on. So it's like, okay, that's what I need to work on. Let me find you all of these solutions. You're going to start getting new insights, new ideas. Again, if you use this goal and you work with this goal when you're doing any kind of money mindset belief practices, those practices are just going to be so much more efficient and they're going to be so much more effective. So now I invite you to join Set Point. The link is below, and that's going to give you a ton of practices to work on upgrading your money subconscious so that you can start feeling so much better about money and so that you can work on your money goal. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day.